Billie Holiday, and live on the air with us is Ms. Iverson. How are you?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
Fine. Good to have you with us. This is really exciting. You know, I was reading your bio, and we missed you. I missed you Friday night when you were in West Baton Rouge Parish Museum doing honoring Billie Holiday. How did it go?
It went really well. It was a wonderful evening. It was.
Great. And tell us about some of the selections and the band that you had from City of New Orleans.
So the whole concept for me was to honor, or is to honor, Billie Holiday and Leslie Young.
Right.
It's a specific time in Billie Holiday's life. It's the early days, Lady Days.
Correct.
So it's the short, sweet songs like Sugar, Getting Some Fun Out of Life, of course, Lover Man, Good Morning Heartache, Them Their Eyes.
Mm.
Yeah, and then I actually, and I had talked to West Baton Rouge Museum about this prior to the concert because I said, well, if you have an exhibit and I really get to honor, I would also we would like to perform Strange Fruit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we did, and that was special.
That's wonderful. Let's talk about the early days when you were in Copenhagen and your parents and your mom and cooking some southern dishes and all these giants, Dexter Gordon and Ben Webster coming to your house. So let's talk about those days.
Well, that was just my childhood. You know, it sounds so extravagant and so wild hearing all those names today, but for me, I just grew up. That was what my home looked like. Those were the uncles and aunties. You know, they came through because my mother, who was a jazz singer, she was also a fabulous cook. They gave her the nickname Charlie Parker of the kitchen because she could improvise. And she could make a whole lot of something out of a little something. So they were all there, always. Those who decided to stay and live in Copenhagen, like Dexter Gordon and Ben Webster, and Uncle Ben, he lived right around the corner from us.
Oh.
So we were there on a, daily, weekly basis because my mama, she cooked for him and helped him out and handled his finances, because he could be kind of wild.
Right.
Uncle Ben. And he was also just a sweetheart and loved animals. And he could communicate with animals like nobody else could.
Oh.
He was special.
Mm.
He was really special.
Well, he was definitely one of those class, Ben Webster and his tenor sound that was register sound, as you know. And,
right.
Some of the recordings that he did with Big Joe Williams and just live recordings. I got some rare stuff by him. Hopefully we'll feature it next week. But Ben Webster was really under radar and unsung hero, really, till he went to Europe.
Yes, because he was a superstar in Europe. I mean,
correct.
They treated him like a king.
Right.
They really did.
And then, and what is interesting, it's, I look at the list of the people that they spend a lot of time in Copenhagen. Well, Dexter lived there almost 16 years, from 1962 to 78, and what a career he had.
Kids.
Yeah.
The same age.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all us jazz kids. We grew up together. We were the kids of all these different jazz people, and they all went to the same parties, and a lot of those parties were in my family home.
My. Well, let's talk about your encounter with mighty Josephine Baker.
Well, she was one of the aunties traveling through.
Right.
And they were all, spectacular and beautiful and strong, and there was a lot of talking and eating and singing and emotions, and they were far away from home, but they could kind of kick their heels up in our house,
Right.
And they did. And then Josephine Baker, she was adopting all these children from all over the world.
Right.
And she was living in France. I'm not sure if it was Paris, outside of Paris. But anyway, and my mother was touring a bit at that time, and Josephine suggested that she could adopt me.
Wow.
And I'm an only child, and my mother took that as such an insult that Maddie Peters, who is Maddie Peters from the Peters sisters, that was my step-grandmother,
Oh.
my grandfather's third wife. And just a little note, Billie Holiday mentions the Peters sisters in her book, Lady Sings the Blues, when she talks about how she enjoyed Europe and how many artists stayed in Europe. And she mentions the Peters sisters, and that's my grandmother, step-grandmother.
Oh.
So, and we all lived in the same building.
Wow.
And kind of like, and we actually still live in the same building.
Let's talk about your father, who is very active and established in 1973 this foundation for Ben Webster in Copenhagen and doing his radio show. Tell us about him.
Correct. So my father, I call him Daddy Cool because he really is, and he's 84 now. And actually, as we speak, he's having a screening, of the new Louis Armstrong movie with the old jazzmen that are still alive in Copenhagen, like Nils Jørgen Steen, who grew up and was reared under Ben Webster, and it's just all these old jazz cats. They're 84, and that's still their lives. That's all they live and breathe for is jazz, live jazz. He's still an active DJ. I mean, he's 84, so he's retired. But when Uncle Ben died, then they decided to create a foundation that, had control and had insight in his royalties because he didn't have any children. And they wanted to make sure that Ben's legacy got the royalties that they so well deserved. And as you know, a lot of the big musicians didn't get any royalties for many of the recordings, like the early Billie Holiday recordings.
Right.
She doesn't get a dime, or her estate doesn't get a dime. And that's a whole other conversation where her money ended up. But that was the norm. So they made the foundation and made sure that this money went to the foundation, all the royalties, and then they have a Ben Webster Award, where they every year award talented, progressive jazz musician in Copenhagen, Denmark, and they also have the Golden Hanger, and the Golden Hanger is one of the cats that needs a new set of clothes the most.
That's wonderful.
Then they just and then they have this huge Ben Webster party once a year on his birthday, where all the musicians come in and perform, and everybody's paid well, and his legacy is honored, and it's a beautiful event. It really is. And he's not the head of it anymore. He stepped down.
Right.
He's on the board, but he's not in charge of it. But he ran that for many years after he retired.
I saw this clip of Dexter Gordon talking about how much he enjoyed living in Copenhagen, and he said, "I call it Copenhagen."
Yeah, Copenhagen. And you know what I can recommend, and I don't know how you can get to see it, but there was a documentary made called Cool Cats, and it's about Dexter and Ben.
Ooh.
And it is fantastic.
I'm going to write it down.
Because there's so much money in all the royalties, they can't afford to publish it, to show it in public viewings, but it can be showed in private viewings.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
I'll check it out. Definitely.
Cool Cat,
two of my favorites.
And my dad is one of the men that gets interviewed because he was there with them,
Right.
He's still here today. Mm-hmm.
I saw the list of the great jazz clubs in Copenhagen, from Jazz House, H-U-S, in Montmartre, which, as you know, is named after Montmartre in Paris, and then Kind of Blue, La Fontaine, and then Jazz House, and so it's very active
and the
scene.
Drop-in.
Yes.
And the Drop-in and the Galatea.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's they have a jazz festival. They have a jazz festival where they have, in a week, they have something like 5,000 concerts.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, yes, it is, and it's all over Copenhagen, in the historic part of Copenhagen. It's beautiful, but it's so much. I mean, that it's like Jazz Fest in New Orleans, but it's spread out all over, but it's jazz, but it's only jazz.
That's incredible. Let's
And
talk
some pop
about
music, but
sure,
yeah.
sure. Let's talk about your new album is due in 2023. I guess it's a tribute to Billie Holiday.
It is. It
Great.
is. That's the plan. Yes, sir, it is. Because, I mean, I know that it would be smarter maybe or hipper to make something that was more modern or with more own tunes, and I'm thinking I'm going to slip a tune or two in of my own
Right.
or our own that I make with the band, but it's still going to be jazz. But I really wanted to honor her because it is, I think it's important. I grew up with these vocalists and these giants, and that loved the music and loved the jazz, and many of my aunties, they talk to me about the music, how important it is to keep sharing that story and keeping the music alive. And the best way to keep music alive, because we get drowned out with modern music, of course, which,
Right.
that's the sign of the times, is live. So, and the energy and the exchange there is in the live performances. And now that we all just went through COVID,
Oh
we know
yeah.
what it's like when we can't meet in the public space. So I
Exactly.
wanted to contribute with something that I find interesting and that I love, and that's those old songs.
Right.
And it takes a lot of discipline as a singer, actually, to sing them like that, because we are so trained to do more and do the most.
Correct.
We got to do the most. We got to be all over the place. We got to scat. We got to, Billie Holiday never scattered.
Correct.
She did not scat. She did not see herself as a jazz singer. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
And Teddy Wilson said,
Oh yeah.
and Teddy Wilson, of course, he was her main man.
Right.
He said, Billie was not a jazz singer. She was a cabaret singer. They called her a cabaret singer, a refrain singer, because she came in, sang with the band, but the band would sing the song all the way through, and she came in, sang it through once.
Right. Right.
And that was it.
And
So
also,
I do sing them through twice, because otherwise it's really going to be too odd, because we're just so used to everything being instantly, we're doing everything immediately. So this is a very slow pace. I mean, it's not slow tempo, but it's a slow pace.
And the beautiful way she tells the story, the way her delivery, and I guess maybe parallel in French they say déclamer, which you just basically do these phrasing almost like telling the stories, as you said,
Right.
rather than just a full blown singing. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to tell the story.
Let me ask you this: one of my favorite bass player from Copenhagen area or from that area, Niels Henning Orsted Pedersen. I started playing his music early 80s when he was recording with Chet Baker on Steeplechase in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great bass player and composer. Is he still active?
Oh, he passed many years ago.
Is that right? Oh.
Niels Henning, he did. And he was, and he came out, he was very young. He was a kid. He was like 18 when he started. And Thad Jones took him in, Ben Webster took him in, Dexter Gordon, Count Basie, so he was amazing. He's legendary. He really is. And I remember him, very humble man. He looked exactly like my dad. Him and my dad looked alike. So it was easy to mistake them, when it's kind of night. It was, if he wasn't on stage, they had the dark hair and the beard. Everybody had hair and beard. They kind of looked alike.
Well, tell us about New Orleans and what you're doing. It's there's something about New Orleans. It's almost like a laboratory that everybody's doing some experiment, and you got jazz, you got blues, you got local music. I just came over. Yeah, I came over. This young guy from Northeast that spent some time recording country music recently. I mean, what a beautiful city, and all these great musicians. So you're in the right spot.
I am, and I fell in love with the city because of all that.
Absolutely.
After a gig, I was invited to perform many years ago, about 13 years ago, because of the Jazz Muffin album that came out.
Right.
And then I came back the year after and the year after. And then after a gig, I just decided to stay. I'm like, no, I got to stay. This has to work out, because I was so intrigued and fascinated with the music scene and the architecture and the history. And
the food.
And the people and the food, you know, and all that jazz. And just the how you doing, baby, you know, it was just, it's a very special place that I love dearly. And it's also a very challenging place, you know.
Yes.
There's a lot in our infrastructure that is yet to be desired, to say the least. And coming from Copenhagen, you know, where everything just works all the time.
Correct.
It's different, and we don't have the elements.
Oh, yes.
You know, we have situations here, pandurricanes, as we said, for the past 2 years, with the hurricanes and everything. So it's also something it's very human. You're very close to life here. Absolutely.
You know, please do us a favor when you release your 2023 tribute to Lady Day, Billie Holiday. Please keep us in mind. Send us a copy so we can feature it on the air, and then hopefully have another round of discussion with you live here on the air as well.
Yes, absolutely. I promise you I will. And thank you so much for inviting me on your show. I've heard so great about you, and I can hear that you are connoisseur. I mean, you know everything. We could talk for hours. You should talk to my dad, because ooh.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we, maybe you and I will coordinate to have him live on the air by phone from Copenhagen.
You know, and the two of you need an hour. I'll hang up, and the two of you do, because that's what he does. He just completed, I think, his radio show number 140 just on Duke Ellington.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking in the nitty-gritty, in the details of it. A connoisseur like yourself.
No, absolutely. No, we're looking forward. You know, it's interesting. I have just a flashback. 1979. I got a chance to go to Southern University and talk to Professor Alvin Baptiste, and he became my mentor. And all these giants from all over U.S., they used to come to see him and do a workshop, from Betty Carter to Nat Adderley to Dr. Billy Taylor. So my first interview as a teenager, my late teen, I think I was 18 or 19, sat down with Billy Taylor, nervous wreck, and we started talking, and guess what? He said exactly what you were saying. He said, "Oh, Zia," I said, "Well, how was it in New York those early days?" He said, "Oh, my mom was a great cook, and Southern cooking, and we had Dizzy Gillespie and Max Roach and Charlie Parker. They used to come to his house and have gumbo." I'm like, "Oh my!" just like you.
Ate in my parents' house too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, while you were describing that, I said, you know, this is just like Billy Taylor. You know.
Yeah.
So that was
true, because we meet around food. You know?
Absolutely.
Black communities, Black families. And that Southern tradition, you don't need to know the people that you're visiting. But if you know somebody who acted right, you're welcome.
Lovely. Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. We want to thank you for taking time to call us on Sunday morning. And
thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, we're putting together, the station's been, you know, I've been doing this for 45 years. And we've done a lot of great interviews, so the station's been very kind. They're putting together a nice archives of all the interviews, and hopefully by early next year is going to be on YouTube. So, so this interview will be added to that list as well.
How wonderful! What an honor that is.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Is.
You know,
and I hope maybe we'll get out on the road with the Billie Holiday tribute.
Let's do that. Absolutely.
We ready to do it live, and I have the most amazing. I didn't get to mention the musicians. I have to give them their props.
Please.
They are all superstars in their own right.
Absolutely.
Mr. Larry Siebert.
Oh yeah.
Yes, on piano and maestro. Then I have Dr. Roderick Paulin on tenor sax.
He knows me. Yeah, tell him hello. And Larry Seaberth, we go back about 30-some-odd years.
There you go. So you know. And then on drums, Gerald French from the famous French family. And then the young blood, he is Ted Long, wonderful bass player.
Wonderful. Well, you got an incredible rhythm section as well.
Yes. So I had to, because, I mean, if it hadn't been for them, I mean, this is the top shelf, top notch
Absolutely.
of New Orleans. International musicians, you know, they travel the world with their own gigs. As I said, they don't need me, I need them.
No, this is great. Yeah, you got a wonderful, combo behind you. So that's going to even add more flavor to the whole repertoire, as they say.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I dare even speak it into existence that we'll be making a live recording. It's because with these cats, you know, it can't go wrong.
Absolutely. Well, we
can't mess up good cats and the good songs, and I see the clues. Stick it together and tell the story. That's it.
Wonderful. We want to thank you again, and we're going to play some Satchmo in your honor as well. Here we go.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Until next time, God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Hello, Dolly. This